All right. Who's first? Good. How you doing?
Good. Aaron Rodgers was talking to the Packers media yesterday. He said obviously doesn't have a whole lot of film on Fatu, but anytime there's a young guy in there, you've got to test a young guy. Just how excited are you to see how Fatu, if he does in fact play a bigger role, respond to that test?
Welcome to the NFL as a rookie corner. So I would say that, and it doesn't matter who you are, when you were drafted, where you came from. I think every quarterback, every offensive coordinator is going to try a rookie DB. But it's all about playing that position, and I think he expects it. We expect it. He's been having good practices. He's been having good training camp, and look forward to seeing the player play.
Do you remember any of those from early in your career? The quarterback really tried to take advantage of you?
Yeah, I do. My first game, I can recall, we played against Buffalo, and that was in the Andre Reed, Jim Kelly era. And I can recall the first play, my coach was yelling at me because I was up in Andre Reed's face. I said, hey, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down challenging. So luckily we had a good game. We won that game. But I do remember it. And like every corner understands, they knows it. We don't have to remind Iffy about that. The only thing that we want to make sure Iffy does is go out there and play well, play hard. I think he'll be okay.
How'd you do that day? Did he come at you a bunch?
Say it again?
I said, did he come at you a bunch that day? How'd you do?
I'm sure he did, and I haven't gotten beat, so corner mentality, right?
Yesterday, I spoke with Benny Blaze from the Lions player, and he said that he noticed in the NFL now that it's a lack of physicality as far as defenses go. But he said when he was watching the Lions with the 49ers, he saw that from afar that you were trying to play a physical brand of defense. Just from one of your former peers, how does it feel to hear that kind of compliment?
Well, it's good to hear that he said that he noticed that. I think that's the essence of football. I think the one thing the NFL has done, it's taken away the aggressiveness of defense. And I understand why. I think so. The only thing that we have as a defense is to put on tape exactly who we are as a team and to know that we're going to play aggressive. We're going to be physical the right way. And I think that's the one thing that I try to make sure that I preach to our guys. There are certain things in this league that never goes away. I don't care what generation. I don't care who you are. Football it's going to happen 20 years from now. And being physical, being able to run, right, and being able to make plays, that'll never leave this game.
Aaron, speaking on physicality, each guy we've talked to, whether it was Dan or your players this week, said what they've noticed in the teams that have beat the Packers lately, including New Orleans, was the physicality they brought to them on defense. So when you look at what you guys did in week one versus what you need to do in week two, how do you dial that physicality up even further?
Well, I think we dial up by just the way we coach. And I think that's any team. And I think it goes offensively or defensively, right? The team that's most physical is going to put themselves in position to win the game. And I really believe in that, right? Because that's the nature of the game. And if you can go out there and like have that presence like every time, I think at some point it wears down your opponent. And if you can continue to hammer and be physical, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, I think you start to see a difference in the team that's been the most physical.
How much is that approach, as weird as it sounds, how much is it mental, like just wanting to be that team?
Well, this game is all mental. I think if you heard that, it's the 80-20 rule, like 80% mental and 20% physical. And we try to preach that to our players. Easier said than done now. But the one thing that I do believe is our players are responding to that. And I think you saw that in the game this past week. Now, there's some things we got to clean up, and I know that. And we will do that. But I like the foundation of where we're at. It'll never happen overnight. That's not how this league is. But, you always pick out those things, those little things that say, yeah, this is it, man. This is it. This is who we are, all right, and this is how we continue to improve. So my goal is each week, right, from going to this next game, how can we take that next step? And just continue to do that, all right, as these games continue to go on.
Speaking of physicality, it looks like Levi's kind of trending toward maybe making his debut. What does he add to the middle there when he is in fact able to play?
Big, physical, twitchy D lineman that you like to have in run or pass situations. He has like great length. He's able to stack and shed. And he's able to get out of the paint and be able to go make plays in space also. So that's what we're looking for with this, but that's why we drafted him. You know, so we can get that play on the field, which we will be able to. That'd be a good chance to be able to evaluate him going to a real game.
Julius Sequeira was down, obviously, week 1.
Yeah.
What more do you have to see from Julius?
Well, each week presents something different. And the one thing that I try to do is make sure that we have the personnel up that's going to present a problem for our opponent. Julian will be up. You know, I can't say exactly which game, just like with anybody else. All right, those guys are going to practice, and if this week says that Julian's going to give us the best chance to win, then he will be up, and he knows that. And that's the one thing I talked about all our players. I mean, everyone has a role, and I think if you can understand what your role is, right, and if you can communicate that as a coach, first and foremost, I think everybody understands and everybody comes together, and there's no hard feelings on that. You know, and I think the first thing is the communication part.
This is a very big picture question, but you guys are playing a team this week, an organization that, you know, for 30 years has really been like the Class of the NFC. You've been a part of some of those top line franchises as a player and as a coach. What is it that makes an organization able to sustain success over a long period of time?
To me, it always starts, well, I guess it's different Green Bay, but it always starts from up top, right? Always, because they set the standard, they set the philosophy of how the organization is going to be. And I firmly believe this with every part of me. It's when the top, right, when the top's on point, and when there's an alignment, right, between the top, between ownership, head coach, GM, coaching staff, personnel, all right, you have no choice but to come down to the players. So culture starts here, right, and then when the players see that, they have no choice but to fall in line, right? And I mean, that's what you talk about our organization right now. I mean, I think we have great ownership, great ownership. Listen, I don't know what happened with the other coaching staff, but I do know this. Brad, Dan, and ownership are in alignment, right? So that's the making of a great organization.
So accident then that these teams that have been successful for a long time continue to be.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh, you look at Baltimore, you look at all those teams. There's no reason why they're always, you know, fighting for the playoffs or in the playoffs, right? And you see those teams consistently in that situation. New England, all right? Because there's a direct philosophy on how they want to operate. I mean, you see that happens towards their players.
A couple more guys. You mentioned having some plays each week that you want to point to and say, all right, this is what we want to build on. Are there any that jump out from you from last week that you can share with us?
Well, I would say this. I would take a little further and say situations. You look at us on third down, right, which is, you know, a lot of people talk about being, you know, one of the top teams on third down. I think we were 6 of 9 on third. We won 6 of 9. And if you take it a step further, the 7th one, it should have been 7 of 9 because we got the fumble. All right, so we're actually 7 of 9. And you take the 2 that we lost, all right, it was a 3rd and 10 on, we crushed the quarterback. We crushed him, and he throws up a duck, all right. And Jeff got to make that play. He does, and he usually makes those plays. And I look forward to him coming back and being able to make those plays for us. So they got a ball with, he threw it behind the receiver. The second one was on another one where we hit the quarterback. Romeo was right at the quarterback, unblocked, great pressure. Quarterback gets it out, all right, and then we're not in the right place as a coverage, right? And our guys understand that. And that happens to a team that's really getting to understand the scheme, right? And then when the players say, like, God, I messed that up. But when you think about those 2 plays, we probably been over 10 for 10 on third down. So you got to tell the player, listen, man, this is us. This is us. All right, so you can go from third down, then go to the red zone, all right? Try to clean that stuff up. Go on the first and second down, try to clean that stuff up. And each week, you just start chipping away at that stuff, all right? And then you start telling the players, this is who we are. And they start feeling that. And they start understanding and start believing, man, we can be good. We've shown that. So, I mean, that's a positive that, I mean, we got to, with our players, man, let them know they did that on third down. I mean, you guys are part of that too. You know about talking about that. So I think that's the only way for us as an organization to continue to improve. If the players got to understand, man, you did something positive right here. It's up for the coaching staff to make sure they understand that.
No quarterback did more damage on deep throws last year than Aaron Rodgers. And so when I was watching,
why you bring it up?
As I was watching the Saints game, one of the things I noticed is every time Aaron looked deep, there was always a Saints defender deeper. and it seemed like that was a really big point of emphasis for them to take that away. How important is it for you to emphasize that with your safeties and your cornerbacks to not let those guys get behind you at all costs because of their, propensity for attacking the field deep?
Well, I will say this: if you dig deep in the numbers into our game this past week, I think that was the one thing that we slipped on is explosive plays, and you can't take any of those back. But if you take them back and just really look at the numbers, I think we all look at that game a little different. Now, no excuses at all. All right, we gave those plays up. All right, I got to do a better job of calling and putting us in better situations. I understand that, and the players got to do a better job playing. So this thing goes hand in hand. But to answer your question, I've always been a split safety coach. That's just who I am. Am I going to say, are we going to be in split safety every time? No, that's just not the way the game is going to be played. But, man, we want to make sure as a team, as a play caller, and as players, that we put ourselves in position to not be able to give those up, right? And the philosophy of our defense is to play split safety. And that's just who we are.
I want to go to the last possession of the Green Bay game defensively.
Yep.
I'm sorry, the 49ers game. You need a 3 now. You need a big play. You have Derek Barnes out there in a pivotal role. Barely played any of that game until that. What went into the decision, and how do you think he responded?
Well, Jamie was a little nicked up. I think it was his ankle or something on that. I think he was getting checked out, so we had to put our next guy in. All right, and that was Barnes. And I could actually brought that play up, too, as a highlight. I mean, when things were down, those guys responded. And I know you guys see all the takeaway drills that we do, and that was a great example of being able to punch the ball out in a non-aggressive angle, and that's what Trey did. But back to your question about Barnes, listen, this next man up mentality for us. And I know you guys hear that all the time, but that's a true statement. And he came in, he was a part of getting that ball back because he was in the right place at the right time, right in his coverage.
Hell of a play by Trey, right?
Say it again?
The play by Trey. Just it was a hell of a play, the effort.
Man, I would tell you this, and that's one of our staples, is playing with maximum effort. And golly, that was a beautiful play, and it gave us a chance. Listen, as bad as it gets, man, our guys kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And we started getting stop after stop after stop. Then, boom, here's the turnover, right, to give our guys a chance. Now, we don't ever want to be in a situation where we need our offense to go and score that many points, but the fact is the mentality of, man, listen, this game is never over, all right? Doesn't matter what the situation is, the game. And the guys bought into that, and they continue to fight. And you just you should have heard them and saw them on the sideline. You just see a different look in their eye. And, man, that is part of that building process. Man, I wish I had a crystal ball or I wish I was a genie and I can just give those guys a wish and they can say, hey, we're going to be 13-3 this year. I wish I could do that. But I do this. Man, this is a hard game. All right? And every time we go out here and practice and every time we play, man, expect progress every time. That's what I can tell you, right? Expect progress because we will have that.
Just curious your philosophy on being on the field versus the box. Just your thoughts on that.
Man, I like being around the players. Yeah, it's something about, I like being around the players. I don't want to be, and that's just me. Everybody has a different philosophy, but I want to look them in the eye. I want to feel their emotion. I want them to feel my emotion, my passion for the game, and man, it's something about being around them, that just gets me excited, and hell, it helps me call a better game, because when I can reach them and touch them and talk to them and ask them what they like, and they can respond to me at that point, it helps me be able to put them in position to make plays, right? For Tracy, for example, the one he had the sack, he said, man, coach, I'm ready to pressure. Okay, well, I'm going to pressure you then. And there he goes. He makes a sack, put him in position to go make a play. So it's just like that communication. It's vital to me as a play caller to be able to just know exactly how your players are operating, how they're feeling at that time.